As a conspiracy theorist, there is one thing that I've heard more than anything else. That would be Illuminati. There are Illuminati conspiracy theories as many as there are people on the face of this earth. So, as a scientifically minded individual and a conspiracy theorist myself, I have taken the time to blow through some of the false information and get to the bottom of the historical accuracy of the origins of the Illuminati. Because I know how difficult it can be to try and stay on point, to try and stay on topic when it comes to digging through articles and flipping through boring-ass documentaries back to back to back to back, some of them being 2, 3, 5, 12 hours long if you want to try and get the whole fucking thing. Zeitgeist. You've all seen Zeitgeist, right? You've all looked at it, said, ha ha ha, 3.5 hours for one of them. So, to avoid all that, I'm giving you a crash course on the Illuminati. Now, to get a proper understanding, we have to start with one very important character, Johann Adam Weishaupt, the creator of the Illuminati. Born in 1748 in Ingolstadt, in the Electorate of Bavaria, his father wound up dying when he was only 5 years old. After his father's death, his godfather, Johann Adam Freyr von Ickstadt, took him under his wing and began to teach him in the ways that he had learned. Von Ickstadt was a professor of law at the University of Ingolstadt. He studied the Enlightenment, or as we know it, the Renaissance, and taught Adam this way of thinking based on rationale and science. Alright, too many takes, I couldn't read my own shit. Hang on. Weishaupt began his formal education as a Jesuit priest, and later enrolled at the University of Ingolstadt and graduated at age 20 with a doctorate of law. Eventually, he became a professor of law at that same university. Soon after he got that position as professor, he was married to Afra Sossenhofer. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. Having been exposed to both a rational way of thinking and a religious philosophy, he wanted to establish a world based on truth, freedom, and rationale. He knew that if he were going to do this the way that he wanted to, he would have to gain power and influence. So, in 1774, he began earning rank with the Freemasons out of Munich. Before joining the Masons, he had developed a grand and convoluted worldview and hoped his influence would change the world for the better. However, his ideas and occult-based rituals were often misunderstood, leading him to be often shrugged off and tossed to the side. This brought him to the conclusion that most secret societies often did not live up to their potential and would prefer to stay in the shadows rather than use their influence to make a real change in the world. Being disenchanted with the Masons, he decided to remain as one, but this time with a purpose. On May 1st of 1776, as if you didn't already know, the same year that the Declaration of Independence in America was signed, Adam Weishaupt founded the Order of Perfectibilists. He would rename it the Ordo Illuminati Bavarense, what we know now today as the Illuminati, which directly translates into the Enlightened Ones. Just as he had planned, only a year later, he would become fully initiated as a Freemason. With the help of, sorry, this one's a mouthful, Baron Adolf Freer Kinnegi. With the help of this person, they designed a plan to steal Masons from within, who saw and shared Weishaupt's visions to re-educate them with the hope of perfecting human nature. The two of them effectively collected followers to stow under their tutelage and began their first days of the Illuminati. Only 5 people were at the first meeting, but it gained followers rapidly. Within just a few years, they would have lodges all over Germany, Austria, France, Italy, Hungary, Switzerland, Belgium, and Holland. Weishaupt, Baron Kinnegi, and a lawyer named Zwack? Didn't find a first name. They soon had a following that infiltrated places of power throughout all of these countries that would relay information back to Weishaupt himself. In 1784, the Bavarian government had intercepted letters from Weishaupt and began investigating the Illuminati. This happened because one of the members, known as Alonza, had been struck by lightning while riding his horse, and the both of them were killed. This man happened to be carrying letters with very sensitive information, including the foretelling of the French Revolution. Because of this, the Illuminati were hunted down by the Bavarian government and killed for suspicion of sedition and conspiracy. Only a few were able to flee, including Weishaupt, Kinnegi, and Zwack. The order was not completely destroyed, though. Over time, they learned how to use much more covert methods of relaying information and began communicating in code. One of the key secret gestures was their handshakes, a method reappropriated from the Freemasons for the Illuminati. It is believed that sometime in the 1820s, the Rothschilds banking family took over the funding for the Illuminati. By the way, the Rothschilds currently, to this day, own over 90% of all currency in the world, and every single country that pulls away from using Rothschilds-backed currency winds up being overthrown or completely demolished by another country's military. In 1830, Adam Weishaupt died, and his order had to find a new leader to take them into their destiny. They wanted to find another Freemason, preferably of the 33rd degree, and they found one. Giuseppe Mazzini was an Italian author and journalist during a very turbulent time and revolutionary? Politically charged time in Italy. Mazzini had founded a group of like-minded and mostly exiled Italians who wanted to reform and remake Italy unified under one flag, because at the time it really pissed off a lot of people that Italy was divided by several different countries and just as many, if not more, rulers. This group was called Young Italy, and their aim was to start an uprising when enough members had been collected and Italy would once again become unified. In 1833, with 60,000 adherents, they planned to move toward their uprising. Before it could begin, the plan was discovered and thwarted by the Savoy government, and many of the followers were arrested, 12 of them being put to death. Mazzini was tried in absentia, and sentenced to death. Well, luckily for him, he was actually hiding out in Switzerland, and remained wanted in Italy as a criminal against the state for several years. Aside from all of this chaos, he was still able to organize another uprising just a year later that was easily crushed by the Piedmontese government. It was during this time that the Illuminati saw Mazzini's talents and decided to take him and approach him to be the leader of world affairs or operations for the Illuminati in the year 1834. The same year as his second attempt at uprising. Most of what can be found on Mazzini after this is him running from several different governments after being wanted or exiled from their countries, including Switzerland, England, and France. It would almost seem as if it was his sole purpose in life to try and establish uprisings and revolutions. Most of them throughout all of Europe, and all of them with the aims of unifying Italy and then, I guess, taking it from there. Oh, as a side note, Mazzini also founded the Mafia in 1860, which is why many conspiracy theorists claim the Mafia have ties to the Illuminati. His seditious and revolutionary tactics and planning took so much of his life that he did it until the time of his death in 1872. He was so influential and revered by so many people that when it was held in Genoa, over 100,000 people had some part of it, whether they attended or not. Many speculate that these revolutionary attempts were his way of trying to take over and revolutionize Europe to be under an Illuminati-based government. It is under the Mazzini leadership that the most important step was made in Illuminati history. With the officials hearing rumors that Mazzini was the new leader of the Illuminati, they moved swiftly to crush all of his operations. Officially dead, but barely hanging on, the Illuminati needed a new direction. Mazzini would initiate conversations via letter with an American lawyer and Confederate brigadier general by the name of Albert Pike. Albert Pike was quickly brought on as the creator and leader of the American chapter of the Illuminati. Being a 33rd degree master mason and an occultist, the Illuminati felt that he would be perfect for the position. Throughout his life, Pike was a philosopher, poet, frontiersman, lawyer, brigadier general, and became Grand Commander of the North American Freemasonry, and he kept that title from 1859 until his death in 1891. In 1869, just 10 years after he was appointed the Grand Commander of the North American Freemasonry, he became a top leader in the Knights of the Ku Klux Klan. Yeah, he's also believed to be one of the founding members of the KKK. Funny little side story, actually. After the war, he was actually jailed by the Union after the South lost, and he was actually pardoned by the president at the time, or was it not the president? That was the president at the time. I forget who it was, but he was pardoned by the freaking president, who was also another Freemason. If you ever wondered why the Illuminati are supposedly associated with Luciferian and satanic practices, you have this man to thank. Albert Pike was also the Grand Master of the Sovereign Council of Wisdom, an order also referred to as Palladium. This organization is supposed to have its origins in Egypt, but was popularized when Pythagoras himself brought it to Greece in the 5th century. However, the incarnation I'm referring to here was founded in Paris in 1737. The Palladium was often revered as a Luciferian group who practiced very dark and supposedly evil forms of rituals. It was through this organization that Albert Pike is alleged to have a ring of some varying sort that kept him in constant contact with the devil himself. I'm not sure how much weight I want to give to that one, but a lot of people hear about it if they dig far enough. Pike would actually become the leader of the Order of Palladium when the previous leader and close friend of his, Isaac Long, would die. Pike then would rename the Sovereign Council of Wisdom and dub it as the new and reformed Palladian Rite. After becoming the leader of the Order of Palladium, he would appoint himself a right-hand man, a man that he trusted with most anything, a Swissman known by Phileas Walder. He also worked closely with Otto von Bismarck himself of Germany and Lord Henry Palmerston of England. It is said that Walder introduced Pike to Lord Palmerston, who led him to start contact with Giuseppe Mazzini. Mazzini would directly ask Pike if he would start an American chapter of the Illuminati and write a book about he would introduce a Freemason into the Illuminati. Together, they worked out a plan that was based around bringing in Masons of a 33rd degree to become the Illuminati elite. If the initiate was a 33rd degree Mason, they knew the level of influence that they had and the amount of trust they could lend to them. This is also exactly why most Freemasons vehemently deny any affiliation with the Illuminati and satanic practices, because most of the Masons don't even reach past the 30th degree. They would not know about the higher echelons of operations. Essentially, Pike was enlisted to scout for Masons to become Illuminati and spread higher influence to the world. He essentially let the Masons do all the work and leached off of his favorites. For a better understanding, I'll go ahead and let a quote from Albert Pike himself speaking to Giuseppe Mazzini, and let that give you a better idea of exactly how they felt about it. We must allow all the federations to continue just as they are, with their systems, their central authorities, and their diverse modes of correspondence between high grades of the same rite, organized as they are at the present. But we must create a super rite, which will remain unknown, to which we will call those Masons of high degree whom we shall select. With regard to our brothers in Masonry, these men must be pledges to the strictest secrecy. Through this supreme rite, we will govern all Freemasonry, which will become the one international center, the more powerful because its direction will be unknown. Under Mazzini's instruction, Pike would write a book that was 871 pages long that he entitled The Morals and Dogma of the Ancient and Accepted Scottish Rite of Freemasonry. The Ancient and Scottish Rite of Freemasonry was the name of the group that he and Isaac Long had named their satanic version of the Freemasons, based on the practices of Palladium. After Mazzini's death in 1872, it would be Pike who would appoint a new leader of the European Illuminati, Adriano Lamy, a 33rd degree Master Mason. Lamy was a banker from Florence and was a supporter of Giuseppe Garibaldi, the man who Mazzini would help become ruler over a united Italy. Rumor actually has it that Lamy was actually associated with the Order of Palladium and eventually the Scottish Rite. Lamy would eventually be succeeded by Vladimir Lenin, Trotsky, and of course, Joseph Stalin. Let's not forget that the Illuminati were funded by the Rothschilds banking family. All of the revolutionary actions of these later leaders of the Illuminati would be funded by several different banks, all with direct ties to the Rothschilds banking dynasty. Between 1859 and 1871, Albert Pike worked out a plan for 3 world wars. Everything from the socio-economic to the political structures of each leading nation during each world war were planned out and predicted by Albert Pike. Also covered stages in between each world war and several smaller revolutionary movements all across the world. Obviously, we have yet to see a 3rd world war, which was supposed to have occurred at the end of the 20th century, but that plan has not yet played out nearly as prophetically as the first 2. This 3rd world war is thought to have played out during the Cold War, sometimes in the 80s or 90s, maybe even the early 2000s, probably around the end, if not last decade of the Cold War. Before his death, Albert Pike would set up nearly 30 councils of the Illuminati, or more known as the Scottish Rite. The Supreme Council he had established with Long in North Carolina was the center of operations. He also set up several different councils, one in Rome to be led by Mazzini, then later Lamy, London, England, to be led by Palmerston, and then another one in Berlin, Germany, to be led by Otto von Bismarck. Pike also set up 23 subordinate councils throughout the world, including 5 grand directories, one in Washington, D.C. for North America, one in Montevideo in South America, one in Naples for Europe, one in Calcutta for Asia, and one in Mauritius? I don't know how to pronounce that, I apologize, for Africa. These have believed to be the main hubs of Illuminati activity ever since they were erected. Since then, many documentaries have been made in recent years, but never with an overly large budget or an insane, popularity. Symbols and effigies in popular culture, specifically in the music industry, have clued people into the whereabouts of the Illuminati and where exactly they have their hand in business. Many presidents, dukes, and various royalties have been associated with the Freemasons, and theorists like to assume that anybody with influence and is a 33rd degree Mason is a member of the Illuminati. Many people like to blame the Illuminati for suppressing several revolutionary technologies, funneling trillions of dollars into black budget projects in the United States military, and countless other theories. The list is quite endless to the Illuminati-accredited theories and tragedies, everything from mass shootings to the Illuminati elite actually being reptilian extraterrestrial overlords. Regardless of what is true, one thing can be sure, and that is that one group has been responsible for the funding of all these things, and that is the Rothschilds banking dynasty. This leads me to ask the question, is the Illuminati actually a central power of controlling elites, or are they simply a tool used by the Rothschilds? It's hard to say, but what we do know is that by the time Albert Pike was finished with the Illuminati, it no longer represented the egalitarian vision that Adam Weishaupt had when he began the infiltration of the Freemasons. Weishaupt had originally wanted to give knowledge of math and science to the world, to spread logic and reason as to abolish the oppression of religion on mankind. Sort of like if you were to take Ayn Rand's objectivism and made a demon hybrid child with Karl Marx's version of communism, Weishaupt had a plan. Abolish order government, abolish private property, abolish inheritance, abolish patriotism, abolish family, abolish religion, and to establish a new world order under a one-world government. There are countless, countless plans and theories that we can extrapolate from this, but we simply I simply do not have the time to put into one video. My God, this was only supposed to be a crash course in the origin of the Illuminati. I'm sure at this point it's fucking 30 minutes long by now. I think my longest video is 15 minutes. This is a record for me, my God. So, there you have it. A crash course in the origins of the Bavarian Illuminati and how it sort of became what we know it as today. I myself am a conspiracy theorist, as I said. I like to look into the deeper and more complex versions of the stories, which many people would like to ignore in exchange for a much more exciting and grandiose theory, such as alien overlords. I myself have been excessively, excruciatingly exhausted trying to sift through and pilfer through a lot of the information that the internet has to offer me. I wanted to go straight to sources, straight to very, for the most part, reliable sources of information as to give you a better quality video as opposed to the secondhand information a lot of the conspiracy videos on YouTube and all over the internet have. So here's a very cut and clean version, and you can take it, at least it is my hope that you can take it and use keywords to jump on and dig into it yourself without having absolute zealots tell you what the theory is. I just want you to theorize safely. I want you to look into things and be open-minded, question everything, even the questions that are questioning the things that you question. So, until next time, let me know if you enjoyed it. Let me know if you want me to do some more crash courses in conspiracy theories. Between now and then, take care now. Much love. Namaste. All that other shit. Bye.